Alec, I gotta admit, you have some brilliant eyes, my bro. But I can't. I'm just like looking right past your head. I'm just staring at the entire time. It's like that thing is. It is so wild.
Hey, I'm Alec, and I am the founder of Trakke Bags. Today, we're going to have a chat with Taylor Weldon to discuss the most hotly anticipated collaboration that we've done, the Muir Mark III. We've got a lot to dig into. As you might know, back in 2022, we released the Muir backpack. It was part of the Muir Project. It was a pretty interesting design. We designed a bag from scratch, not just one bag, but two bags. It was sort of 1.5 bag travel. It was a wild success. And now it's time to do a bit of an update. So Taylor and I are going to have a chat about some of the design details, what worked, what didn't, and come up with some ideas for the latest version ready to drop this year. The last few years, you've done a lot of collabs. I mean, this is going to be our fourth collab with you, but you guys really knock them out like every month. Why do you do it?
There wasn't really a carry culture in the world at that point. There just wasn't. When I discovered Carryology in like the first months of it existing. So it was really, really kind of cool to find my people, because people who study product design, they don't really go into bags. I'm definitely the black sheep. But that being said, I've been reviewing bags, talking about bags with Carryology since 2010. And, it felt like the natural progression is, I design bags. That's what I do. And Carryology, we're connected with all these beautiful, amazing brands that we call dear friends, like real life friends, including you guys, like absolutely. It's just the most logical next thing to do. And frankly, the reason why is because it's fun. I mean, I've heard people discredit that, and I don't really care, because that is the truth. I mean, are you having fun? I mean, I love this. I can't stop doing it. I need to do this. It's so much
Yeah.
fun. It's what I do. I can't get enough of it. Realistically, the amount of projects that I'm designing and working on personally are probably more than like an in-house designer at a big brand designing bags would be working on. And I don't know, probably 5 years worth of projects in 1 year. So it doesn't stop. It's a lot of fun.
Like you said, back in the day, there just wasn't this like carry culture that's kind of come about in maybe like the last 5-10 years. And I think you guys really have been very much at the center of that, building a community around bags and bringing all of these people together who maybe like us 10 years ago thought we were just like big nerds and no one else would be into this stuff. Like, how do you pack and what do you pack and what do you carry? And I think you've really like connected the dots with those groups on the Carryology classifieds and places like that. And I think it's been really interesting because as a designer, everyone you meet, you say, what's your perfect pack? Like everyone will give you a different answer. No one will give you the same volume, the same pocket layout. And I think it's kind of really interesting when you put all of those people onto one forum to see what kind of discussions and debates happen. And I think that's really interesting. I think really, the perfect collab is when two brands come together and do something that they couldn't do on their own. So it's got to be like the sum of its parts. With you guys, we get to design stuff that maybe we wouldn't normally do, and stuff that maybe is a bit of a risk as a brand, or something that's a little bit outside our comfort zone, or playing with fabrics that we don't normally work with. And I think, very much that's always been the case when we've done collabs with you, is we've used it as an opportunity to try something a little bit different from our usual product line.
And when you say a little bit outside of your comfort zone, I would argue a lot. I mean, those two bags right above you, and I have mine right here. I have the Tartan as well down here. But this is definitely not something you would do, and that's cool. We call these like the Formula One cars, and bear with me, like all these big brands, it's Mercedes, for example. The Formula One cars, they spend billions and billions of dollars, just like us.
Oh yeah,
just joking. We have
billions.
about $10. They have billions of dollars to research and engineer and use science and technology and all the most cutting edge space age stuff. What happens is that trickles down into their actual production cars. So that's what's really fun about doing these. It's that we treat them like Formula One cars, in the sense that we really go outside of the norm and really push boundaries, and kind of what probably isn't great for a production bag. Like that's with the minimums and the quantities. That's not for everyone. It's for like these diehard carryologists.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, maybe this is a good time to talk about the last collab because it's sitting right behind me here. This is the original Muir Project backpack and then the Tartan special edition. And I think when we came together, we started with like an inspiration point, didn't we? We were talking about John Muir, who obviously was a Scottish guy who moved to America and played a hand in establishing national parks all over the US and in Scotland. So famously, he was sort of the godfather of Yosemite National Park, right? And obviously with you being based in the States, us being based in Scotland, this felt like a nice kind of connection. But starting from there to where we ended up, I think was quite a journey. John Muir, like very much in the outdoor category. And so we kind of started with this idea, let's design something that has elements of a heritage pack, but is much more modern, much more innovative. And I think the outdoor narrative ended up being spun into more of a travel narrative, didn't it? Because, that's what we do a lot. That's what we do a lot. That's what we know.
I mean, he did have to travel from Scotland to the US, so it does make sense.
And then you introduced this idea of 1.5 bag travel, which is kind of different from the classic one bag travel, which everyone talks about. What is 1.5 bag travel, Taylor?
So 1.5 bag travel, and in my opinion, it is really the ideal way to travel. We've talked about 1 bag travel for more than a decade now. Yes, that's a great way to travel, but secretly, we've all kind of been doing 1.5 bag travel. We just didn't really even know that we were doing it yet. The 1 bag travel, it's pretty self-explanatory. 1 bag, you're traveling. Generally speaking, that's 28 to 35, maybe 40 liters in your 1 bag travel that's on your back. The real goal with 1.5 bag travel is when you get to your destination, you don't want to be carrying around a 40-liter bag, through the streets of Glasgow or Tokyo, like nightmare. I learned that pretty quickly going to Tokyo. There's not enough room in Tokyo for a 28-liter bag. Period. Just don't. You can't do it. I was actually turned away at restaurants. Really small hole in the wall place. So like,
really,
sorry. I'm like, that's not that big, but there's like 6 chairs. Like you can't come in with that backpack. And it was like 28 liters. So the concept is you get to your destination, take out your necessities, your extra charger, your camera, maybe some medicine if you take daily medicine, some sunglasses, just your bare essentials, maybe a rain shell jacket, and you put it into another smaller bag. And that's generally sling size. I like to call it big sling, small messenger. And that's what we did with the Muir backpack is, we made this using a small kind of messenger sling kind of thing. Now you can walk around the city and you have everything you need, and you're not carrying this, boat anchor on your back. It's so much more efficient. It's so much more streamlined. That's the ideal way to really travel like a pro, I guess.
I really feel like the bum bag or the fanny pack or now, the sling has had the best redemption curve of all time in the last 5 years.
Ever.
It's like, if you were wearing a fanny pack or a bum bag in like 2010, everyone was like, who the fuck is this guy? And now go anywhere and try and find me someone that's not wearing a sling. It's just the best, the best way to carry. It's like bigger than your pocket, smaller than a backpack, perfect for every day, isn't it really? And I think when you put that together with 1 bag travel, you've got like a pretty perfect combo.
I mean, the sling category it's just skyrocketed. I guess it was popular, in the 90s, maybe the 80s. And then it just rapidly declined. Like no one would be found dead in one of those. But now it's the new category. And it still is. I wasn't sure if that was going to die off, but it's
I think it's here to stay. I mean, I think now that you don't have to wear it around the waist, I think it's opened up a new era of the sling.
Colin, when you edit this, make sure you put the photo of The Rock wearing that around his sling. It's like from the 80s. Dwayne The Rock Johnson. It's
Hell yeah.
He knows the one. He knows what I'm talking about.
We have got a collab coming up. And when we started figuring this out, I think we loved what we'd done with the Muir backpack. And really what we wanted to do is just improve it and change it and update it, but keep the kind of DNA the same. And that's something that we do all the time at Trakke is, we'll release a product. And because we are D2C, shipping direct to all of our customers worldwide, and we have a repairs program, we get a lot of stuff back and we see where things go wrong, we talk to our customers and we learn what they like, what they don't like. And of course, with the collab drop, everyone was very happy to share their feedback on classifieds, good and bad. So we had this really like unfiltered view of like exactly what people think of the original bag. So it kind of made sense for us to take that info and feed it into design updates. And that's kind of what we ended up with this bag here. So yeah, this was our starting point. And of course, just to recap, a little bit of heritage flair on this bag with the straps down here, but a pretty interesting reveal where you had the sling that came off and then reattached with fidlock, which is like such a neat system.
That's so cool. I'm still impressed by that.
It was fun. But like the design challenges of this product were insane from a patterning perspective, from sort of a 3D shaping perspective. It was wildly different from anything we'd done before. And then, we discussed early on, I mean, I remember we had this great conversation about like 2-in-1 products, a bag and a sling. And you were like, I don't know about this. It's like designing a sneaker that is meant to double as a cat litter tray or something like that.
Yeah. I just gave a panel discussion on this last weekend, and I said the same exact thing. I kind of hate when products try to do 2, 4, 10 different things together, and they do them all horribly. But for this bag, that was never the intention. I remember I said it has to do both of its intended functions perfectly and then come together seamlessly.
Yeah, that was the key, is trying to make sure that it looked like a complete unit when it was together, looked like a complete unit. But it also, when it was separate, they felt like very natural, separate products. And actually, I would say this, but I think we kind of achieved that. I think they do work together.
In fact, I think that, like, I know another thing we talked about is when they're removed from each other, they both have to look beautiful as well. Together they have to look beautiful, separate they have to, and I still think the backpack, on its own, I mean, same with the sling, it's really form-fitting. I really love the look of that backpack. It's so, it's quite nice.
When the sling's on, it's like, it's really comfortable. It shapes really nicely. It's like a good size. Obviously the round patch was so that, we could adjust the orientation, depending. And I mean, that was super cool. I mean, that was certainly one of the things that I really loved about it. I love the 1.5 bag travel vibe. That just worked. And this was the first use it bag that we designed as well. I think that was something that wasn't really in our range before then. What else did you like, Taylor? What was good? What did we nail?
My favorite part, I would say the materials. Everything we did kind of went back to that original Muir, Roosevelt, Scotland, USA kind of combination. So we used the ultra high molecular weight challenge fabric, which is totally awesome. Waterproof, like, space age material. But
that stuff is nuts.
Then we went to the #1 tartan maker in the world in Scotland, and we got to visit them. And we took John Muir's family's original tartan design and then modified it to match our colors. Having that tartan made in Scotland with that ultra high molecular weight challenge ultra cloth, like, that's, for me, I still just look at those two fabrics together, and it's just somehow they work together so perfectly and so brilliantly. I love that, the fabric story.
Yeah, I mean, the tartan was a great journey. I mean, I remember going down to the mill and sitting with their design team and figuring things out. There's nothing better than a factory visit, right? Seeing it being made and then the finished result. I mean, especially when we ended up putting it on the bag. I mean, Gedra had such a hard time doing all the pattern matching to get all of the tartan alignment. But I think for a special edition, it was something else. People really seem to respond to the unique approach, to the point where it actually became quite a moddable pack. We saw loads of people in the months after we launched creating their own lid pockets that would fit on to the fidlock setup that we'd done. And in a way that was really fun. I mean, sometimes that was born from someone finding that the bag didn't work for them in the way that they wanted it to. And so they would hack it to make it work. And sometimes it was just mad scientists in their garage, like coming up with cool ideas to try out. The question is, though, when we're going to do an update, we need to figure out what didn't work. This is a designer's worst nightmare, isn't it? It's like you have to dig deep and critique a bunch of your own work. Give it to me straight.
Yeah, here we go. I think we both did a good job of very honest with each other about what didn't work with each other. Not in the process. I think you and I worked together fantastically, famously, in fact. But I think, as far as the product, what didn't work, and then having that unfiltered, response from the Carryology classified group, that's huge. I mean, they're very wildly educated, very informed, very knowledgeable, tons of experience. Everyone in this group, so you can trust what they're saying, and they might pull out one little detail, and they'll take a photo of it and say they might even have a solution for it. I think when we were listening to all this feedback, and even discussing what did and didn't work, I'm always down to do another collaboration with you, always. But at that time, there was never like the intention, kind of just growing professionally and crafting your skill. We took down those notes, said, okay, cool. Now we have them, and let's see what happens from there. But paying attention to this feedback was never the intention to make another collab until
now. Personally, I think, I feel like by the time a product makes it to a customer, I've already been sitting with it for months. It's been designed, it's got through all of the process of development and production. So often when things launch, I'm like, I'm done with that one. I want to do it.
on to the next thing. Yeah.
And it's hard to stop that. What I would say about this bag was I think it was an acquired taste. It's pretty wild. I think the way that we had to shape it to make everything work was pretty different from like our kind of traditional heritage style, which was kind of part of the story. It was about mixing like really modern fabrics, really traditional fabrics, and for us trying something very different. But it's quite a complicated bag, right? And I think in that sense, it was kind of, you either love it or you hate it. I really loved the water bottle pockets we put on this. If you remember, we designed them so that they kind of expand and contract. But I think the downside of that detail was that when you do have bottles fitted in, it kind of gets pretty fat at the base. It's had like one too many dumpling or something. And I think that's something, I really wanted to address. Sternum strap. I mean, man, we had a lot of messages about sternum straps, which is hard to watch. I'm not a massive sternum strap guy myself.
Same, yeah.
But I quickly discovered that there are a lot of carryologists who love a sternum strap. Crucial.
Can you take any guesses why I don't use sternum straps too often?
Oh, I see.
It's so annoying. But I do understand. I think they are completely necessary. Sometimes a 16-liter bag needs a sternum strap if it has an intended purpose of doing something active. But anything over 26, 28 liters, it needs a sternum strap. So that was definitely one area and one highlight that we paid attention to, is the feedback on that.
Yeah. Beyond that, maybe it was a little bit fiddly. I think the fidlock setup that we had was like pretty out there, but at the same time, we were sort of limited in what we could do with fidlock. And that meant that things like the quick release on the strap, I wish these magnets had been just a little bit stronger. I think generally it was just really interesting to see what people liked and don't like. And there are things on the bag that I really liked and people hated. And there were things that I hadn't maybe given as much thought to that people really enjoyed. So I guess these things just happen. But for me, the V3 has to be this DNA, this concept, but cleaner, and dare I say, a little bit more aligned with the Trakke MO.
Yeah, more streamlined, less fiddly. It's got to be less fiddly. I mean, it was actually amazing seeing you just nail that in the first try. How many prototypes did we go through with this? I mean, dozens and dozens and dozens. And sub-assemblies, 4 million, I think, something like that is what you told me. But, to have that click on and click off and then strap on, with practice, you can get it on the first try. It was fiddly. And, all that being said, we were using the technology available and the hardware available to us at the time, which that's all the industry had at that moment. And I believe still currently has. There's no better solution, I think. But we still have to make it less fiddly, less strappy, more streamlined, and maybe more rugged but elegant at the same time.
I think so. I mean, I think cleaning up the aesthetic, making it stand a little bit better as well. This a little bit shaky, which can cause problems. Straps up, straps down debate. This was a nightmare because you've got straps on both sides. Which way do you put it down?
You're wrong both ways.
Like, what are you meant to do? So we're going to have to figure that out. I think it was a great starting point.
I think so too.
Yeah, I mean, let's have a look at the tartan version.
Alec, I got to admit, you have some brilliant eyes, my bro. But I can't. I'm just like looking right past your head. I'm just staring at the entire time. So, that thing is. I mean, it is so wild. It's so intense.
Damn,
How many did we make of this?
we made 10.
This is not for everyone. It's the collectors, and it was a
Yeah.
statement piece to have fun and be wild.
My biggest regret was not doing more of the Tartan Muir last time. And then Lock Karen were fully booked this year. So it would have been cool to bring this stuff back. We will bring this stuff back, right? Right,
Mhm.
Taylor? For
Yeah,
for
yeah.
for the next collab?
We
Yeah.
have to, right? In some respect, right?
Confirmed. So yeah, I mean the tartan bag was nuts. Gedra, who does our in-house R&D, she made these all on her own. And that was purely because she's incredibly talented and no one else could have delivered it quite so perfectly. I mean, we had such limited fabric available that
Mm-hmm.
she was like, if I get this wrong,
So,
the project's ruined. So it was a
mm,
tense few weeks when she was making these for
mm,
sure. But man, this just came out so well. I mean, even like the straps, the people who bought these, I really hope that they use them because this one right here has never been used. It kind of needs to be, doesn't it?
mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to have them make some more of that fabric whenever they're available. Anyway, I mean, with the clients they have, which I'm not going to list any because I'm not sure if we're allowed. They're household names that like are very big,
Oh yeah.
high, like
Yeah.
elite clients. So
Yeah.
the fact that they even snuck us in at all is shocking.
Look, Karen, clear your books for 2025. We want more of
Mm-hmm.
this.
We want more.
So we've had an in-depth look at Muir 1. That is our starting point. We figured out what's good, what isn't, and our Muir 3 collab is coming soon. So thanks for joining me, Taylor, and make sure you tune in to the next episode to find out more about the design decisions that we're making for Muir 3. Hopefully it will give you a great insight into our process and a bit more behind the scenes info about how we approach these collabs. We are really enjoying making this long form content. So if you would like to see more of it, please do like and subscribe and let us know in the comments what you liked and what you didn't like about the original Muir Project backpack. See you next time.